Croatia have just knocked out favorites Brazil out of the World Cup to make it to the semifinals in a historic win. I still can't believe it. How many times will Brazil bottle it at the biggest stage, right? Today we're going to analyze how both teams played in and out of possession, so in both the halves, how they played, and the key players for both teams, and look at some key stats. Before we get started, I want to put some respect on two Croatian players that absolutely carried the team today. Obviously, there's Dominik Livakovic in goal. He had 11 saves from 11 shots on target. He faced 3.16 expected goals on target, which is basically the, measures the probability of shots that result in a goal, shots on target that result in a goal. And it tells you how good a goalkeeping performance it was, right? Because he only conceded one goal from 3.16 expected goals on target. The main player that deserves credit is Josip Juranovic, man. What a player. This guy was absolutely everywhere for Croatia. He had 94% pass accuracy, 7 passes into the final third, 3 chances created, 88 touches, 2 accurate crosses, and 1 accurate long ball. He was absolutely immense defensively as well. 3 tackles, 4 clearances, 1 interception, 7 ball recoveries, and 5 out of 5 ground duels won. Absolutely immense player. And what stood out the most for me was his intensity on the pitch, right? The way he was running into tackles, the way he was sort of breaking the lines to move forward, right? And he just imbibed the energy into all the players around him, and he was definitely a leader for them on the pitch, so deserves massive credit. Now let's talk about Croatia and possession, right? In the first half, they were playing sort of a 3-4-3 in possession, with the fullbacks pushing really high and wide. You had Modric and Kovacic sort of playing the 8 role, and Perisic, Kramaric, and Pasalic up front, right? I think the main area they struggled with is these two players, Kramaric and Pasalic. They couldn't really get into the game. Kramaric is he's not a very strong player. He's good at dribbling in tight spaces. He's good at his finishing, but Croatia couldn't actually get the ball up to him, not because the midfield struggled, but because he couldn't get into good positions, right? The Brazilian defense and Brazilian midfielders sort of covered him really well, and it was the same with Pasalic, right? Pasalic is not an explosive right winger, so he couldn't really provide a lot of the width that the Croatian team needed. And a lot of that was left up to Juranovic, right? Juranovic was making deep runs into the Brazilian half to try to get something up to Kramaric, but he's not really good in the air, so the options were very limited. And Perisic did what he could to provide some cover on the left-hand side, but again, there's only so much one player can do, right? So that's how they set up in the first half. Looking at Brazil without the ball in the first half, right? We have a 4-4-2 with Neymar and Richarlison playing as the strikers. Rafinha and Vini were holding sort of wide, and Casemiro and Paqueta were forming the 4, right? So it was a 4-4-2, 2 banks of 4 and 2 in the front. That's how they played in possession. I think they tried to provide a lot of the width from the wide players, and they tried to play the fullbacks a little bit narrow, right? It didn't really work. I mean, Neymar did a lot of good stuff with progressing the ball from deep in midfield, right? A lot of the times he was picking up the ball in this area. Paqueta as well was picking up the ball here with Casemiro right in front of them, and they were trying to progress the ball forward, trying to work with the wide players and with Richarlison. But it didn't really work that well, right? Obviously, they had shots on target. They created expected goals, but they didn't get a goal, and that's what they needed to win this game, right? So in the first half, it was kind of disappointing from Brazil how they actually performed based on how good their players were, right? I think in possession, right, Brazil was playing a 3-1-4-2 in the first 20 minutes. So it was Thiago Silva, Marquinhos, and Militao playing as the center backs. So they had 3 center backs. You had Danilo pushing past Casemiro into midfield, playing with Paqueta. And then you had Rafinha and Vini playing really high and wide. So it was bit of a weird formation, to be honest. But they were basically trying to create overloads in midfield, right? Because they have 3 players here, and in the attack they have 4 players. So they were trying to make it so that the defense of Croatia would really struggle. And Croatia in defense was kind of playing a 4-1-4-1. So let me just set that up here. We had Brozovic in front. We had the fullbacks playing deep. We had Modric and Kovacic right there, and Perisic and Pasalic trying to provide defensive cover. So in this formation, when you have sort of 4 attackers from Brazil against the 4 defenders of Croatia, taking them on man-to-man, it's really forcing Brozovic to pull deep to help out, Kovacic to play a little bit deeper, and Modric to play a little bit deeper as well. So, I mean, it was a good strategy, but they didn't really manage to get a lot out of it, right? Excuse me. The only thing they really managed to do was cut out Croatia's ability to create a lot, right? And sure, that was a good enough strategy to prevent Croatia from scoring, but it didn't really do much for Brazil, right, from an attacking sense. I was really impressed by Eder Militao and Danilo going forward. I did not expect Militao to do as much as he did, right, because they were also playing a 3-2-2-3 formation where they had sort of Militao, Marquinhos, and Thiago Silva, but this time it was Danilo and Casemiro and the pivot, and then Paqueta and Neymar playing as the 10s, and Richarlison, Rafinha, and Vini playing as the front three. So in this formation as well, Militao was doing a lot of the support on the right-hand side, and a lot of times he actually dropped into midfield, and he was even overlapping beyond Rafinha, right? So I was really impressed by him. He had 3 shots, 92% pass accuracy, 102 touches, 7 progressive passes, and 1 cross. From a defensive perspective, obviously immense. He had 3 tackles, 1 clearance, 2 interceptions, 11 ball recoveries, 5 out of 7 ground duels won, and 2 aerial duels won as well. So great game from him. Danilo actually played most of his game in midfield, man. I mean, again, impressed by Brazil's tactical flexibility, but not so happy with the end result, right? Because they only created that 1 goal. But Danilo had 121 touches. I think that's the highest for the Brazilian team. 17 progressive passes, so passes into the final third, and 89% pass accuracy. He had also defensively 2 tackles, 1 block, 3 clearances, 2 interceptions, and 6 recoveries. So impressive game from both the fullbacks. Moving on to Croatia in the second half, right? Brazil was playing a lot more attacking. So in possession, Croatia went back to a 3-4-3. But this time they actually had Modric dropping into the center back line, right? They had Brozovic and Kovacic playing as 8s, and they had Pasalic and Perisic up front. Now, in the first half, what they really struggled with is Kramaric and Pasalic not really providing anything. So the coach made the changes to bring on Vlasic for Pasalic and Petkovic for Kramaric. Now, this was a good move, definitely worked out in the end because Petkovic got that goal in extra time. But initially, I was really worried with Petkovic not providing a lot of attacking threat, right? He was terrible at holding the ball. Every time the ball went into him, Brazil, swarmed him with 2 players, and he didn't seem to find a way to pass the ball, right? Even on counterattacks, he was really struggling. But eventually it worked out. So they were playing a 3-4-3 again, but they really struggled to create much because, like I said, Petkovic was an issue, and also Brazil was really forcing them deep, right? They still played a 4-4-2 with sort of Richarlison and Neymar playing as strikers, Paqueta and Casemiro in midfield, and let me just put that there. Yeah, we had Militao and Rafinha playing there. Now, in the second half, they did get rid of Rafinha and Vini to get on Antony and Rodrigo. This kind of worked a little bit better. I mean, Rodrigo was very active, and Antony looked very sharp. I felt like he was taking on the left back of Croatia and Sosa and causing a lot of troubles, right? So let's look at. Yeah, Antony looked really sharp. Then we have Brazil in possession in the second half. They were doing some weird stuff with their possession, man. They played Marquinhos and Thiago Silva, and then Militao and Danilo in front of him. So they were playing 2-2-3-3 formation with Paqueta and Neymar as like 2 10s, Casemiro as the 6, I guess, and then they had Richarlison, Antony, and Rodrigo, right? So they played really narrow in midfield and tried to provide a lot of the width from Rodrigo and Antony. This was, again, Brazil's attempt to throw the kitchen sink at the game, right? And they tried to create and eventually got that goal in the sort of first half of extra time. And Croatia, again, had to do a lot of defending. To answer this, they played a 4-2-3-1 with Kovacic and Brozovic holding, Juranovic and Sosa playing deep, Modric playing in front of them, and obviously a front three of Petkovic, Perisic, and Vlasic, right? Again, they tried to deal with the overloads in midfield of Brazil by playing these 3 players sort of really tight together, right? And also Perisic helping and Vlasic helping them. So again, Croatia showed a lot of mental fortitude, right, to stay in this game. That was where Croatia played their cards, because they knew they have the stamina, they have the ability to take this game really deep, play the 120 minutes, and then take it to penalties, and then let the football gods decide who wins the game, right? I mean, Neymar was definitely the star in the second half for Brazil. He got his goal. He had 5 shots on target, 1.5 xG in expected assists, but he only created 1 chance. He had 93 touches, 3 dribbles, 7 progressive passes, and 3 crosses. But at the end of the day, they didn't do enough to win the game, right? And that was the problem. Now, let's talk about some key players, because the midfield of Croatia is what won this game. These 3 players deserve some respect, man. Modric showing his class at 37, 120 minutes of running with game-high 139 touches on the ball, 91% pass accuracy, 1 chance created, 22 progressive passes. So he did his best to provide Croatia with some attacking threat. 2 tackles, 2 blocks, 1 interception, 7 ball recoveries, 9 ground and aerial duels won. So absolutely insane from this guy at 37, playing at the highest level, man, getting his team to the semifinals. Brozovic as well worked so hard. 114 minutes of running with 134 touches on the ball, 89% pass accuracy, 1 chance created, 5 progressive passes, 2 blocks, 2 clearances, 3 interception, 12 ball recoveries, and 10 ground duels won. So he did his best to keep Croatia in this game. And then Kovacic, who probably goes underrated a little bit, because his ball progression was absolutely key. He had 91% pass accuracy, 93 touches on the ball, 2 successful dribbles, and 13 progressive passes, right? So him and Modric really trying to do their best to get the ball up the pitch. In a defensive sense as well, he had 3 tackles, 1 clearance, 1 interception, and 6 ball recoveries with 8 ground duels won. So an incredible performance from Croatia. They deserve massive credit. I think in Croatian you say idemo Hrvatska, and that just means go Croatia. And an incredible performance, massive upset. Brazil will have to think long and hard about their approach to this game, because they will have a lot of time to do it as they watch the other teams in the semifinals and the finals. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, I'm loving the World Cup right now. I hope you guys are as well. Comment down in the description who you thought was the best player. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.